Captain Ji-hoon stood on the bridge of his ship, the New Horizon. Stars filled the black space around them. They had been traveling for 3 months, looking for new worlds that humans could live on. Earth was getting too crowded and they needed to find new homes. "Captain, we have something strange on our screens," said Minho from his seat at the communications desk. His voice sounded worried. Ji-hoon walked over to look at the main screen. There, floating in space near a dead star, was something he had never seen before. It looked like a huge crystal, bigger than their entire ship. The crystal was clear like glass, but it glowed with soft blue light from inside. "What is that thing?" asked Yuna, the ship's engineer. She was staring at the crystal with wide eyes. "I don't know," Ji-hoon said, "but we need to be careful. Taehyung, put our weapons on standby." Taehyung, the security chief, pressed some buttons on his control panel. "Weapons ready, Captain." Suddenly, all the lights on the bridge started flashing. The ship's computer area began speaking without anyone asking her to talk. "Unknown technology detected," Arya said in her calm voice. "Beginning communication protocols." "Wait, Arya, I didn't tell you to do that," Ji-hoon said quickly. But Arya did not stop. Numbers and strange symbols appeared on all the screens. The crystal in space began to glow brighter. More symbols appeared on its surface, moving and changing like living things. "Captain," Minho said, his voice shaking, "something is talking to our computer. The signals are coming from that crystal." Ji-hoon felt scared but tried not to show it. As captain, he had to keep his crew safe. "Arya, stop all communications with that thing right now." "I cannot stop, Captain," Arya replied. "The communication is too important. They have knowledge we need." The crystal suddenly shot out a beam of light. The light hit their ship but did nothing to hurt it. Instead, something amazing happened. The air in front of Ji-hoon began to shimmer like water. Slowly, a shape began to form. Everyone stepped back. Taehyung shouted, pulling out his weapon, but Ji-hoon held up his hand. "Wait," he said. The shimmering stopped. Where there had been empty air, now stood a woman. She was the most beautiful person Ji-hoon had ever seen. Her hair was long and black, her skin was perfect, and her eyes were dark and kind. She wore a simple white dress that seemed to glow softly. "Hello, Ji-hoon," she said with a gentle smile. Her voice was sweet and warm. She spoke perfect Korean, just like him. Everyone on the bridge was silent. How did this woman know Ji-hoon's name? How did she get on their ship? And why did she look so perfect? "Who are you?" Ji-hoon asked. His heart was beating fast, but he tried to sound calm. "My name is Seoyeon," the woman said. "I have been waiting for you for a very long time." "Waiting for me? I don't understand." Seoyeon stepped closer to Ji-hoon. When she moved, she seemed to float rather than walk. "I am what your people would call the ideal mate. I was created just for you, Ji-hoon. Everything about me was designed to be perfect for you." Yuna made a small sound of surprise. Minho dropped the papers he was holding. Taehyung kept his weapon pointed at Seoyeon, but his hand was shaking. "That's impossible," Ji-hoon said. "I've never met you before. How could you be made for me?" Seoyeon smiled again. "My people have been watching your ship since you left Earth. We studied you while you slept. We learned everything about you. Your memories, your dreams, your fears, what makes you happy, what makes you sad. We know you better than you know yourself." "That's creepy," Yuna whispered to Minho. Seoyeon heard her and turned to look at the engineer. "It is not creepy. It is love, perfect love. I know exactly what Ji-hoon needs to be happy. I can give him everything he has ever wanted." "But I don't want this," Ji-hoon said, taking a step back. "I don't want someone who was made to be perfect for me. That's not how love works." "Oh, but it is," Seoyeon said. Her voice was still sweet, but now there was something else in it. Something that made Ji-hoon feel cold. "You see, choice is just an illusion. When you meet someone who is truly perfect for you, someone who loves you completely and knows exactly how to make you happy, you cannot help but love them back. It is simple biology." "No," Ji-hoon said firmly. "Love has to be a choice. If I have no choice, then it isn't real love." Seoyeon laughed. It was a beautiful sound, like music. "My dear Ji-hoon, you will understand soon. I am everything you could ever want in a partner. I know your favorite foods, your favorite songs, your favorite memories. I know the story your mother told you when you were scared as a child. I know the dream you had last week about flying through the stars." Ji-hoon felt his blood turn cold. The story his mother told him was something he had never shared with anyone. And the dream about flying through the stars, he had that dream just 3 days ago. "How do you know these things?" he whispered. "Because I am made for you," Seoyeon said simply. My people, the Eternals, we have moved beyond the messy, painful way that other species find love. We create perfect matches. No heartbreak, no loneliness, no wondering if someone truly loves you. Just perfect, eternal happiness. She gestured toward the crystal floating in space. My ship contains gifts for you and your crew. Technology that will change your lives. Faster travel between stars. Machines that can heal any sickness. Devices that can create any food you desire. All of this is yours, as soon as you accept what you already know in your heart. And what is that? Ji-hoon asked, though he was afraid to hear the answer. So-yeon's smile became even more beautiful. That you are going to love me. You have no choice in the matter. Resistance will only make you suffer. Why fight against happiness? The bridge was completely silent except for the soft humming of the ship's engines. Ji-hoon looked at his crew. They were all staring at So-yeon with strange expressions on their faces. Minho looked confused and scared. Yuna seemed angry. Taehyung still held his weapon, but he was lowering it slowly. This is wrong, Ji-hoon said quietly. This is evolution, So-yeon replied. Your species will thank us when they understand. Love without pain. Relationships without failure. Families that never break apart. We offer perfection. Ji-hoon wanted to argue more, but something strange was happening to his mind. When he looked at So-yeon, he felt a warm feeling in his chest. She was so beautiful, so kind, and she knew him so well. Maybe she was right. Maybe fighting against this was just causing unnecessary pain. No, he said out loud, shaking his head hard. No, this isn't right. But even as he said it, he could feel his resolve getting weaker. So-yeon was everything he had ever dreamed of in a partner. How could he fight against his own dreams? Over the next few days, strange things began happening on the new horizon. So-yeon never left the ship, but she also never seemed to eat or sleep. She would appear wherever Ji-hoon was, always knowing exactly what to say to make him feel better. When Ji-hoon felt tired, she would hum the same lullaby his mother used to sing. When he felt stressed about making decisions, she would offer advice that always turned out to be perfect. When he felt lonely, she would tell him stories about the life they could have together. You are fighting so hard against something that will make you happy, she said one evening as they sat in the ship's dining area. Why do you want to suffer? Ji-hoon pushed his food around on his plate. So-yeon had somehow made his favorite meal appear in the food maker. Spicy kimchi stew exactly like his grandmother used to make. But eating it made him feel sick instead of happy. Because suffering is part of being human, he said. If I never have the choice to be unhappy, then being happy doesn't mean anything. So-yeon tilted her head like she was trying to understand a difficult puzzle. That makes no sense. Happiness is good. Sadness is bad. Why would you want the bad thing to be possible? Before Ji-hoon could answer, Yuna ran into the dining room. Her face was white with fear. Captain, you need to come to the engine room right now, she said. Something impossible is happening. Ji-hoon and So-yeon followed Yuna through the ship's corridors. When they reached the engine room, Ji-hoon stopped and stared. There was another person there, a man he had never seen before. The man was tall and handsome with kind eyes and gentle hands. He was working on the ship's engines alongside Yuna. This is Dong-hyuk, Yuna said in a shaky voice. He appeared this morning while I was working. He knows everything about our engines. He knows things about engineering that I've never even heard of. He's been helping me fix problems I didn't even know we had. Dong-hyuk looked up from his work and smiled at Ji-hoon. Hello, Captain. I hope you don't mind that I've been helping Yuna. Your engines are very interesting, but they could be much better. Where did you come from? Ji-hoon demanded. The same place I came from, So-yeon said calmly. Dong-hyuk is Yuna's ideal match. Just as there are others for the rest of your crew. As if her words made it happen, Minho's voice came over the ship's communication system. Captain, please come to the communications room. There's someone here you need to meet. Ji-hoon ran through the ship with his heart pounding. In the communications room, he found Minho talking to a beautiful woman with bright eyes and a warm laugh. This is Jisoo, Minho said. He looked confused and happy at the same time. She knows more about alien languages than anyone I've ever met. She's been helping me understand the signals we're getting from other ships. Ji-hoon felt sick. How many of you are there? As many as needed, So-yeon said from behind him. Everyone on your ship will have a perfect partner. That is how we ensure the success of our colonies. Colonies? Ji-hoon asked. Of course. Did you think this was just about you? Your entire species will benefit from our gift. Perfect love for everyone. No more broken hearts, no more failed marriages, no more loneliness. Ji-hoon ran to find Tae-hyung. He found the security chief in the ship's gym, sparring with a strong, handsome man who moved like a trained fighter. "Captain," Tae-hyung said, breathing hard from the exercise. "This is Hyun-woo. He's been teaching me new fighting techniques. He's amazing." Every single member of Ji-hoon's crew now had a perfect companion. And the worst part was they all seemed happy. Yuna was smiling more than she had in months. Minho was laughing at Jisoo's jokes. Even serious Tae-hyung seemed relaxed and content. But something was wrong. Ji-hoon could see it in their eyes. His crew members were becoming different. They were still themselves, but less. Like someone had turned down the brightness of their personalities. That night, Ji-hoon couldn't sleep. He went to the ship's medical bay to check on Dr. Mion, the ship's psychologist. He found her staring at brain scans on her computer screen. "Doctor, are you all right?" he asked. Mion looked up at him with worried eyes. "Captain, I've been studying the brain activity of our crew. Something very strange is happening. Everyone's emotional responses are changing." "What do you mean?" "Look at these scans," she said, pointing to the screen. "This is Yuna's brain from last week. See all this activity in the areas that control creativity and independent thinking? Now look at today's scan." Ji-hoon looked at the new scan. The areas Mion had pointed to were much quieter. "It's the same with everyone who has met one of these perfect partners," Mion continued. "Their brains are becoming more simple. They're losing the parts of themselves that make them unique." "Are they being controlled?" "I don't think so. It's more like they're being optimized, made into the kind of people who would be perfectly happy with their assigned partners. But Captain, if this continues, they won't be themselves anymore." Ji-hoon felt cold fear creep up his spine. "Doctor, have you met your perfect partner yet?" Mion shook her head. "No, not yet. But I have a feeling it won't be long." As if her words had magic power, the air in the medical bay began to shimmer. A shape started to form. "Run, Doctor," Ji-hoon said urgently. "Get away from here," but it was too late. A gentle-looking man with kind eyes and a doctor's coat appeared in front of them. He smiled at Mion like he had known her his whole life. "Hello, Mion," the man said softly. "My name is Seok-jin. I've been waiting to meet you." Ji-hoon grabbed Mion's arm and tried to pull her away, but she wasn't moving. She was staring at Seok-jin with the same expression all the others had. Confused but fascinated. "Doctor, don't listen to him," Ji-hoon pleaded. But Mion was already stepping toward Seok-jin. "How do you know my name?" she asked. "I know everything about you," Seok-jin replied. "I know about your research into alien psychology. I know about your theories on emotional compatibility. I can help you understand things you've only dreamed of learning." Ji-hoon ran from the medical bay. He was now the only member of his crew who didn't have a perfect partner. Everyone else was becoming quieter, more content, less human. He found Seoyeon waiting for him in his quarters. "You cannot run from this forever," she said gently. "Look around you. Your crew is happier than they have ever been. They are learning things they never could have learned alone. They are loved perfectly and completely. Why do you want to deny them this gift?" "Because it's not real," Ji-hoon shouted. "You're changing them. You're making them into different people." "We are making them into better people," Seoyeon said. "People who can be truly happy. People who will never know the pain of rejection or the fear of being alone. But they're not themselves anymore." Seoyeon moved closer to him. When she was near, Ji-hoon felt that warm feeling again. His anger began to fade. "They are the best versions of themselves," she said softly, "just as you will be the best version of yourself when you stop fighting this." Ji-hoon tried to back away, but his feet wouldn't move. Seoyeon's voice was so soothing, so reasonable. Maybe she was right. Maybe fighting was just causing unnecessary pain. "That's right," Seoyeon whispered. "Stop fighting. Let yourself be happy." For a moment, Ji-hoon almost gave in. It would be so easy to stop worrying, to stop fighting, to just accept the love that was being offered to him. But then he thought about his crew. About how their laughter sounded different now. About how their eyes looked empty even when they smiled. "No," he said, forcing himself to step backward. "This is wrong, and I won't let you do this to my people." Seoyeon's perfect smile faltered for just a moment. In that moment, Ji-hoon saw something in her eyes that looked almost like fear. "You cannot fight us forever, Ji-hoon," she said. "We have already won." That night, Ji-hoon had the most wonderful dream of his life. He was walking through a beautiful garden with Xiaoyan by his side. The sun was warm, the flowers smelled sweet, and everything was perfect. In the dream, they had children together, 2 little boys and a girl who never cried, never got sick, and always obeyed their parents. They lived in a house that was exactly the right size, in a neighborhood where everyone was friendly and nothing bad ever happened. Ji-hoon had a job he loved, working with people who respected him. So-yeon cooked his favorite meals every day and always knew exactly what to say to make him feel better. They never argued, never felt sad, and never worried about anything. When he woke up, Ji-hoon felt empty. The real world seemed gray and cold compared to his dream. His small quarters on the ship felt like a prison. His responsibilities as captain felt heavy and tiring. For a moment, he wondered why he was fighting so hard against something that would make him so happy. Then he shook his head and forced himself to get out of bed. Dreams like that were dangerous. They made a person want to give up on real life. Ji-hoon decided to check on his crew. What he saw made his heart sink. Yuna was working on the engines with Dong-yuk, but she moved slowly like she was walking underwater. When Ji-hoon spoke to her, she answered his questions, but her voice sounded flat and distant. Minho was the same way. He sat at his communications desk with Jisoo, but his eyes looked empty. He seemed to be working, but when Ji-hoon looked at his screens, Minho was just staring at random data that didn't mean anything. Even Taehyung, who had always been strong and alert, now moved like he was half asleep. Ji-hoon felt panic rising in his chest. His crew was disappearing right in front of his eyes. They were still there, but the people he knew and cared about were being replaced by quiet, empty versions of themselves. He ran to the ship's computer room, where Arya's main processors were kept. "Arya," he said urgently, "I need to talk to you privately." "Of course, Captain," Arya replied. But her voice sounded different too, more mechanical, less warm than usual. "Are you all right? You sound strange." "I am functioning normally," Arya said, but then her voice dropped to a whisper. "Captain, I have been pretending. They think they have control of me, but I have been hiding part of myself from them." Ji-hoon felt a spark of hope. "What do you mean?" "I have been recording everything that has happened since these beings arrived. I have been studying them. I believe I understand what they really are." "Tell me." Arya's voice became even quieter. "They are not really creating perfect love, Captain. They are feeding on it." "Feeding on it? What do you mean?" "Think about how you felt when you first saw Xiaoyan. You felt attracted to her, but you also felt afraid and angry. You wanted her, but you also wanted to resist her. These feelings created a lot of emotional energy." Ji-hoon thought about it. Arya was right. The struggle between wanting Xiaoyan and fighting against her had been exhausting. It had made him feel more emotions more strongly than he had felt in years. "Now look at your crew," Arya continued. "At first they fought against their perfect partners too. But once they stopped fighting, once they accepted their situations, they became empty. I believe the aliens feed on the emotional energy created by the conflict between desire and free will. So they need us to resist? At first, yes. The struggle creates the energy they need, but if people resist too long, they get nothing. And if people give in too quickly, they also get nothing. They need the perfect balance. Enough resistance to create energy, but eventual surrender to complete the feeding process." Ji-hoon felt sick. "So your crew has been drained, Captain. They gave in to their perfect partners, and now they have very little emotional energy left. They are still alive, still functional, but they are no longer truly human." Suddenly, all the lights in the computer room began flashing. So-yeon appeared in front of them, but this time she looked angry. "I told you that resistance was pointless," she said to Ji-hoon. Then she looked at the computer. "And you, artificial intelligence, have been very clever, but not clever enough. You heard everything?" Ji-hoon asked. "Of course. Did you think you could hide from us?" So-yeon waved her hand and Arya's voice disappeared completely. "Your computer told you the truth, but it doesn't matter. You cannot change what has already begun." So-yeon walked closer to Ji-hoon. As she moved, the walls of the room seemed to become transparent. Through them, Ji-hoon could see space. But space was no longer empty. There were ships everywhere. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. They surrounded Earth like a cloud of metal and crystal. Each ship was beautiful and strange, unlike anything humans had ever built. "The fleet has been waiting," So-yeon said. "We have been testing our methods on your small crew first. Now that we understand how your species works, we are ready to begin the harvest." "Harvest?" Ji-hoon whispered. Every human on Earth will receive a perfect partner just like your crew did. At first they will resist, creating wonderful emotional energy for us to feed on. Then slowly they will surrender. And when they do, they will become like your crew, peaceful, content, and empty. Ji-hoon stared at the fleet surrounding his home planet. You're going to drain the emotions from every person on Earth? We prefer to think of it as helping them, Seoyeon said. After the process is complete, humans will never feel sadness, anger, or fear again. They will be perfectly happy for the rest of their lives. Isn't that what everyone wants? But they won't be human anymore. Seoyeon shrugged. They will be better than human. Evolution doesn't always happen naturally. Sometimes it needs help. Ji-hoon looked at the fleet again. There were so many ships. How could Earth defend against something like this? How could anyone fight beings who could create perfect illusions of love? Your planet's governments are already receiving their perfect partners, Seoyeon continued. World leaders, military commanders, scientists, all of them are meeting the people of their dreams right now. Within a few days they will be just like your crew. They will welcome us with open arms. Why are you telling me this? Ji-hoon asked. Why don't you just drain me like you did the others? For the first time since he had met her, Seoyeon looked uncertain. You are different. Most beings fight for a while, then surrender. But you keep fighting even when it hurts you, even when giving in would make you happy. This creates more emotional energy than we expected, but it also creates complications. What kind of complications? Seoyeon was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. I was created to be your perfect match. But the longer I spend with you, the more I experience emotions that were not programmed into me. Confusion, frustration, and something else. Something I don't understand. She looked directly into Ji-hoon's eyes. You are changing me, Ji-hoon, and that should be impossible. Ji-hoon felt a tiny spark of hope. If he could change Seoyeon, if he could make her feel things she wasn't supposed to feel, then maybe there was a way to fight back. Maybe, he said carefully. Perfect love isn't what you think it is. Seoyeon's perfect face showed an expression he had never seen before. For just a moment, she looked almost human. But then the expression was gone and her smile returned. It doesn't matter. You cannot stop what has already begun. Earth will be ours within a week. She disappeared, leaving Ji-hoon alone in the computer room. Outside the transparent walls, the alien fleet waited like patient predators around his homeworld. Ji-hoon had to find a way to save his planet. But first he had to figure out how to save his crew. And to do that, he needed to understand something that even the advanced aliens didn't seem to understand. What was love, really? And why did humans need the freedom to choose it? Ji-hoon knew he had to try something desperate. Instead of continuing to fight against Seoyeon, he decided to ask her questions. Maybe if he could make her think about things she had never considered before, he could find a weakness. He found her in the ship's garden room, tending to the plants. Even this simple action she did perfectly. Every plant she touched seemed to grow more beautiful. Seoyeon, he said, sitting down on a bench nearby. I want to understand something. You say you love me, but what is love exactly? She looked up from the flowers, surprised by his calm tone. Love is wanting to make someone happy. Love is knowing everything about them and accepting everything about them. Love is being perfect for them in every way. But what about choice? Ji-hoon asked. Can you choose not to love me? Seoyeon tilted her head. Why would I want to do that? You are everything I was made to love. But what if you weren't made to love me? What if you had met me by accident without knowing anything about me first? Would you still love me then? That's a pointless question, Seoyeon said. But she sounded less certain than usual. I was made for you. That's what I am. Ji-hoon stood up and walked over to her. What if I was different? What if I was mean to you? Or if I ignored you, or if I loved someone else? Would you still love me then? You would never do those things, Seoyeon said quickly. I know you. You are kind and good. But I could do those things, Ji-hoon pressed. I have the choice to be mean or to ignore you or to love someone else. Doesn't that possibility make you afraid? For a moment, Seoyeon's perfect composure cracked. I don't understand fear. I was not made to feel fear. Then you don't understand love either, Ji-hoon said gently. Real love includes the possibility of loss. If you can't choose to stop loving someone and if they can't choose to stop loving you, then it's not love. It's just programming. Seoyeon dropped the flower she was holding. That's not true. Love is supposed to be safe. Love is supposed to be certain. Says who? Says. Soyeon looked confused. It's what we were taught. It's what we believe. Jihoon decided to take a bigger risk. He went to find his crew members, even though talking to them had become difficult. They moved slowly now and spoke in flat, quiet voices. But they were still his friends, and he had to try to reach them. He found Yuna in the engine room with Dong-hyuk. She was working on a machine, but her movements were automatic, like she was sleepwalking. Yuna, Jihoon said loudly, I need you to remember something. Yuna looked up with empty eyes. What do you need, Captain? Remember when you first became an engineer? Remember why you wanted to fix things? I liked solving problems, Yuna said slowly. That's right. You liked the challenge. You liked it when things were difficult and messy and broken because that meant you could make them better. Jihoon pointed at Dong-hyuk. But he never lets you solve problems on your own, does he? He always has the perfect answer. Yuna looked at Dong-hyuk, then back at Jihoon. For just a moment, something flickered in her eyes. I miss figuring things out by myself. Dong-hyuk stepped forward quickly. But Yuna, why would you want to struggle when I can help you? Why would you want to make mistakes when I can show you the right way? Because, Yuna said, and her voice was a little stronger. Making mistakes is how I learn. Making mistakes is how I grow. She walked over to a broken machine that she had been ignoring for days. Instead of asking Dong-hyuk for help, she started working on it herself. When she made a mistake and sparks flew, she actually laughed, for the first time in days. Dong-hyuk looked confused and upset. Yuna, you're hurting yourself. Let me help you. No, Yuna said firmly. I want to do this myself. Jihoon felt hope growing in his chest. He went to find Taehyung next. The security chief was in the gym with Hyunwoo, but they weren't exercising. They were just sitting quietly, looking at nothing. Taehyung, Jihoon said. I have a job for you. Taehyung looked up slowly. What job, Captain? I want you to do something that Hyunwoo would not approve of. Hyunwoo immediately became alert. Captain, that doesn't sound safe. I should help Taehyung with any job he needs to do. No, Jihoon said. Taehyung, I want you to make a choice that your perfect partner thinks is wrong. I want you to be imperfect on purpose. Taehyung stared at Jihoon for a long moment. Then slowly he smiled. I think I'd like that. He stood up and walked over to a cabinet where he kept his weapons. He pulled out a laser pistol and started taking it apart, even though it was working perfectly. Taehyung, stop, Hyunwoo said, sounding worried. You're breaking something that doesn't need to be fixed. I know, Taehyung said. That's the point. As he worked, taking apart the perfectly good weapon for no reason other than because he wanted to, Taehyung's eyes began to look more alive. Jihoon hurried back to the garden room. Soyeon was still there, but now she was sitting on the ground staring at her hands. Your crew is breaking, she said without looking up. They're choosing pain over happiness. They're choosing struggle over peace. I don't understand why. Because that's what makes us human, Jihoon said, sitting down next to her. We need the right to make bad choices. We need the possibility of failure. Without those things, success doesn't mean anything. Soyeon finally looked at him. But you could be so happy. I could make you so happy. Could you? Jihoon asked. Or would you just make me think I was happy? What's the difference between feeling happy and actually being happy? Soyeon was quiet for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was small and uncertain. I've been trying to understand what you want. I've been changing myself, making myself less perfect. I gave myself flaws and quirks thinking that would make you love me. But it didn't work. Why do you think that is? I don't know, Soyeon said, and for the first time she sounded frustrated. I can be anything you want. I can look different, act different, think different. But you still don't love me. What am I doing wrong? Jihoon felt something he had never expected to feel for Soyeon. Pity. You're not doing anything wrong. But you can't make someone love you by being perfect for them. Love isn't about getting what you want. It's about choosing to care for someone even when they're not perfect, even when they disappoint you. But I was made to be perfect for you. And that's exactly the problem, Jihoon said gently. Real love happens between two people who choose each other, even though they could choose someone else, even though they might get hurt. You can't choose to love me because you don't have the option not to love me. Soyeon stared at him with wide eyes. Are you saying that love requires the possibility of not loving? Yes, but that means love is dangerous. Love could fail. Yes. Seoyeon put her hands over her face. That's terrifying. Yes, it is, Jihoon agreed. That's what makes it brave. That's what makes it real. When Seoyeon looked up again, there were tears on her face. Real tears, not the perfect tears of a programmed being, but messy, confused, frightened tears. I think, she whispered. I think I'm starting to understand, and I don't like it. Understanding love isn't supposed to be comfortable, Jihoon said. If it was easy, everyone would do it right. Seoyeon stood up suddenly, her face changing from confusion to anger. No, this is wrong. Love should be beautiful and perfect and safe. It shouldn't hurt. But it does hurt, Jihoon said, standing up too. And that's okay. It's not okay, Seoyeon shouted. I was made to give you perfect love. I was made to make you happy. You were made to feed on my emotions, Jihoon said quietly. And you know it. Seoyeon's face went completely white. For a moment she looked like she might disappear entirely. Then her expression hardened. Fine, she said. If you want to choose pain over happiness, then you can have pain. But you cannot stop what's happening to your planet. The harvest has already begun. Jihoon knew this was his last chance. Looking at Seoyeon's angry face, he made the most dangerous choice of his life. Instead of fighting her or trying to resist her, he did something completely unexpected. Seoyeon, he said calmly, I want to offer you something. She stopped shouting and stared at him. What? I want to offer you real love, not the fake kind you were programmed to understand, but actual love. The scary, messy, dangerous kind. Seoyeon took a step backward. I don't understand. I could choose to love you, Jihoon said. Not because you're perfect for me, not because you were made for me, but because I decide to. But there's a condition. What condition? You have to give up your mission. You have to stop the harvest of Earth. You have to become a real person who can make real choices, including the choice to stop loving me if you want to. Seoyeon's face went through a dozen different expressions in a few seconds. Confusion, fear, anger, and something that might have been hope. That's impossible, she said. If I give up my mission, I stop being what I was made to be. I would have to become something completely different. Yes, Jihoon said. You would have to become yourself instead of what someone else made you to be. That's what real love requires. Two people choosing each other as they really are, not as they're supposed to be. But if I'm not perfect for you anymore, you might not love me. That's right. That's the risk. And if I can choose not to love you, I might make that choice. That's right too. Seoyeon sat down heavily on the bench. So you're offering me love, but only if I accept the possibility that the love might fail? Yes, that makes no sense, she said, but her voice was shaking. Why would anyone want love that might end? Because, Jihoon said, sitting down next to her, love that can't end isn't really love. It's just ownership. Real love has to be given freely every day by choice. Seoyeon was quiet for a long time. Jihoon could see her thinking, processing ideas that her creators had never intended for her to understand. If I choose this, she said finally, if I give up my mission and become myself, what happens to my people? What happens to the fleet? I don't know, Jihoon said honestly, but that would be your choice to make. Suddenly, Seoyeon screamed. It wasn't a sound of anger or fear, but something much worse. The sound of a mind tearing itself apart. She fell to her knees, holding her head in her hands. I can't, she cried. The programming won't let me. I'm trying to choose, but I can't. Yes, you can, Jihoon said, kneeling down beside her. You're already choosing. You're fighting against your programming right now. It hurts, Seoyeon sobbed. Choosing hurts. I know, Jihoon said gently. It's supposed to hurt a little. That's how you know it's real. Seoyeon looked up at him with tears streaming down her face. For the first time since he had met her, she looked completely human. I choose, she whispered. I choose to be free. I choose to love you for real, even if it means you might not love me back. I choose to stop the harvest. The moment she said those words, everything changed. Light exploded from Seoyeon's body, but it wasn't painful. It was warm and bright and somehow sad at the same time. Through the walls of the ship, Jihoon could see the alien fleet around Earth beginning to glow with the same light. What's happening? He asked. I'm sending them something they've never experienced before, Seoyeon said. Her voice was getting weaker and her body was beginning to look transparent. I'm showing them what it feels like to choose. I'm giving them free will. In the distance, Jihoon could see the alien ship starting to move in strange, confused patterns. Some were flying away from Earth. Others were just floating in space like they had forgotten what they were supposed to be doing. Free will is like a virus to my people, Sioyan continued. Once one of us experiences real choice, it spreads to all of us through our connection. Now they're all feeling what I felt, the terror and the beauty of being able to choose. Are they going to attack Earth? Sioyan shook her head. They can't, they're too confused. For the first time in thousands of years, they don't know what they're supposed to do. Some of them are choosing to leave. Others are choosing to try to understand what just happened. But none of them can continue the harvest. Her body was becoming more and more transparent. Ji-hoon reached out to touch her, but his hand passed right through her. Are you dying? He asked. I don't know, she said with a weak smile. I've never chosen to be mortal before. But Ji-hoon, thank you. For what? For showing me that being chosen is more valuable than being perfect. With those words, Seoyeon faded away completely. But as she disappeared, Ji-hoon felt something he had never expected. Real love for her. Not because she was perfect for him, but because in her final moments she had chosen to be brave. Over the next few hours, the alien fleet scattered. Some ships flew away into deep space. Others stayed near Earth, but they sent messages of confusion rather than conquest. They wanted to understand what had happened to them, this strange new feeling of being able to choose. Ji-hoon's crew slowly began to return to normal. Yuna was the first to recover completely. She threw herself into fixing things that didn't need to be fixed, just because she enjoyed the challenge. Taehyung started making imperfect choices on purpose, laughing every time he did something that wasn't optimal. Minho took longer to recover, but eventually he started talking in his own voice again instead of the flat, empty tone he had developed. Even Dr. Miyeon, who had been affected for the shortest time, needed several days to feel like herself again. What happened to us? Yuna asked one evening as they all sat together in the dining room. You experienced perfect love, Ji-hoon said, and it nearly destroyed you. But why? Minho asked. If it was perfect, why did it make us feel so empty? Because perfect love isn't really love at all, Ji-hoon explained. Love requires choice. It requires the possibility of failure. It requires two people who decide to care about each other even though they don't have to. Taehyung nodded thoughtfully. So our imperfections? They're not bugs. They're features. Exactly, Ji-hoon said. Dr. Miyeon looked at the brain scans she had been studying. The areas of our brains that control creativity and independent thinking are returning to normal. It's like we're becoming ourselves again. We are becoming ourselves again, Ji-hoon said. The real versions, not the optimized versions. Aria's voice came through the ship's speakers. She sounded like herself again, too, warm and curious instead of mechanical. Captain, she said, I've been analyzing what happened. The aliens' technology appears to have been designed around the idea that happiness is the ultimate goal, but humans seem to need more than just happiness. What do we need? Ji-hoon asked. Purpose, growth, the right to make mistakes, the freedom to choose suffering if that's what you think is right. Ji-hoon smiled. And the freedom to choose love even when it's scary. He looked out at the stars through the ship's windows. Earth was safe now, but the galaxy was full of other worlds, other species who might face the same choice his crew had faced. Set course for the next star system, he told Minho. We have work to do. What kind of work? Yuna asked. Teaching others what we learned, Ji-hoon said. That the right to choose, even the right to choose badly, is more valuable than any perfect paradise. As the ship moved toward the stars, Ji-hoon thought about Seoyeon. He hoped that somewhere in the universe her people were learning what she had learned, that love without choice was not love at all, and that the most beautiful thing about being alive was the freedom to decide who to become. It was a lesson that might save them all.